Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. Welcome back. I am so excited. I'm so excited. I am so excited. This is your girl, Jaquetta Sutton, your host, who is leading Forged by Fire, Fueled by Faith. And it's really tapping into my journey. But I also want to include you because I'm sure you are dealing with some things as yourself. I'm sure that you are being forged by your fire, whether it's relationship, whether it's finances, whether it's your career, whether it's your goals, whatever it is, whatever your fire is, whether you're stuck, whatever it is causing you to move by faith and to really trust God. And so this is what I want to talk about today. It's not that I don't want to not just talk about that, but to let you know how we can go, how can we move forward in the situation that we're in? How can we get unstuck? We got to know how to get unstuck. And so, in one way to get unstuck is we know by praying and we know by fasting. But another way that people don't really talk about is community, your tribe. You need a tribe to help you. It's not any kind of tribe because the tribe that you may once had couldn't get you to the point where you are or where you need to be. So you also have to be um, mindful and very selective in who you have to help you move along in your journey. That makes sense? Because a lot of times we get stuck because we don't have someone that we can be accountable to and someone that can help us. You need community. You need community. And so I want to help you to understand why community is prevalent in your life. When you look at a, let me see, when you look at a strand, and the Bible talks about that, two strands are better than one. But when you bind them together and they bind in threes, they are uneasy. They're not easily broken. So you need to be able to get with get with somebody, find somebody that you can really listen to and that will help you along the way. Let me tell you about what happened. Let me tell you about my journey. Let me tell you about how I came about with my tribe. And this was some, you know, early 2000s, early 2000s when I had nothing. I had absolutely nothing. I moved from New York with five children in a van that was not registered, didn't notice, was not insured, almost ran over a sheriff because I fell asleep at the wheel. Hmm. And it was a struggle. And all I had in that van was my kids, maybe some pots and pans, and maybe um, I don't even think it was a week's worth of clothes. I took what I could take. I moved in an apartment with my five children, and that was how we began. That was the moment. And thankfully, rent was paid for the first couple of months, but after that, it stopped. It stopped. It wasn't coming. And so being that I was married, and so after I separated, left New York, came to North Carolina, and this is me, y'all. I'm really not trying to, but you know what? We're going to talk about it because I want people to be free. And I want you to understand that you can't do things by yourself. There are some things you can't do, but then there are other things that you can't do by yourself. You need a community. You need a tribe. And so when I came down, I had nothing. I had nothing but what I had, which was my children and probably a week or two worth of clothes. And so we was just rolling with that. And all of my children, they were elementary. I had two in elementary, two in pre-K, and more at four, and one on my hip. Yes, yes, being separated, separated, and it led me where I was almost evicted because of the rent wasn't being paid. And I think I passed. Let me rewind a little bit. And so how when I mentioned almost evicted, I mentioned this because the rent wasn't paid. And God had graced me with an amazing leasing management who was a praying lady, Miss Barbara. I can call her name out, but Miss Barbara, she helped me. And she told me, she said, listen, I understand what's going on. She said, I'm going to help you to the best of my ability. And so she tried to give me resources. But at this moment, I was at a church, and this is I call it a mega church, a well known church. Okay, it's not a mega church, but it's a well known church. Excuse me, it's a well known church. And I happened to be at service one evening because they had service, Sunday service, um, Sundays at 6 p.m. And I was just dedicated to church because that's all I knew. And it was just this pastor, amazing man of God. God bless him. Amazing man of God, Pastor Lockett. He reached out. He didn't even reach out. He just had me to stand, and he blessed me because he knew what was going. Someone mentioned it to him because I talked with a lady, my friend Angie, and I was talking to her, and apparently she must have mentioned this to him because I was going to his church, but I was not out there like exploiting my business to that magnitude. I wasn't. I was. I'm sure they can see that I was a young lady with five kids who was broken, going to church, with me and my children, and they were well behaved, but I was broken and I had no one. Yes, I had family here I had family in North Carolina, but I needed something that they could not give me. And it wasn't had nothing to do with the a financial issue or whatever. Yes, that was part of it. But I also needed a community, the ones that was going to help me and cultivate me. And so he ended up paying the month's rent that was behind, and he and paid my rent up to I think 2 months or 3 months, and then I was able to get a job with one of the ladies that was there. She just said, you know what, you can work for me, and I live right up the street from her. Now, mind you, when I told you about the van, when I moved down with a van, that van was it was by the grace of God. It was the grace of God that got me from New York to North Carolina. When I tell you, I had no idea that that van was not really supposed to have been working. It really wasn't. It wasn't. It broke down. Actually, it broke down. I think like a month later, or maybe a couple of months later, it broke down, and it was nothing no one could do. I didn't have money to get it fixed, and at that point, it was a done deal anyway. But anywho, he paid the rent. I was able to get up, and there was two particular women at this ministry. They were my tribe. This was another young lady. She also had five children. She was the beginning of my tribe. She knew exactly by just looking, she knew, and she befriended me and she helped me out of my situation. Not in that part, but she helped me see me in a way. Like she helped me get myself together. This was a tribe. The other women, they heard me because I used to go to noonday prayer. It wasn't nobody in there. And I wasn't going for nobody. I was going for me because I knew that when you go into the house of God sick, He's going to move. That was my only way that I could hear more, is when I got into His face. And so the women that was there, they're going on to be with the Lord, Shawnette and Sister Purvis. Those were the two that just chased me after that. They saw what God was doing in my life. They saw the calling that God had upon me. And so they did not let up. But I used to run because, one, I wasn't ready. I don't think I wasn't ready. I was scared. I wasn't ready and I wasn't scared. I mean, I was scared. And so moving forward, they helped me and they talked with me and they grabbed me and they held me and they spoke life into me. They spoke life into me. And that was the beginning of a reset for me. That was the beginning of restoration for me. I was going through some other stuff, but to get to the meat of it all, I had to know who I was. And truth be told, I still didn't know who I was. I just knew that God was chasing me by the way these two women of God was chasing me, and my other friend Lisa, who helped with that, and my other friend Angie, they helped with that. They took notice of who I was, and they saw a young lady with 5 children who were young, elementary, and they saw that she was broken. These are the tribes. They didn't tear me down. They didn't talk about me. They didn't spread my business. These are the tribes that helps. These are the tribes that you have to have in your circle. In your circle. Because God placed them there for not just to be there, but there's a reason. So in your circle, look and see who's in your circle and ask the Lord, what is their intentions? What is their reason and what is their purpose for me? What are they there for me for? What am I to do with them? Are they here to help me? Or are they just there taking up space? These are the things that you gotta ask. And it's okay that if they're not there, sometimes you gotta pray these prayers. Lord, if they're not in alignment with your purpose for my life, please remove them. Remove them. I was that one that I had to tell the Lord, please, you do it, because I didn't have the heart to. I didn't have the heart to, which I didn't have a lot of people in my circle like that anyway. But still, even to the day, I pray that prayer. And I encourage you to pray the same prayer. Know who's in your circle. Know who your tribe is, because in your tribe is going to help push you where you have to go. They're going to pray for you. They're going to fast for you. They're going to take you, show you things and help you to see things. They're going to speak life in you. They're going to encourage you. They're going to tell you when you're wrong. You have to have that. I'm not one that pity patty around no one. I have learned how to season my words, but what you get is what you see is what you get. I don't pity patty around it, because I understand when you need a tribe. I am that one. I am that one. Find your tribe. And another one, one I got married, is she's still my friend today, is Pam. Yeah, she's still my tribe. These are the people that I trust. I trust. Now, some, I don't speak to them on a regular, but when I do speak, I speak, and we on that type of relation. We have that type of relationship. But I hope I made sense. because that has been on my heart today, all day today. And it was just really talking about your tribe. And I could have just came out of my book, with talking about it, so that I can go back through my points. But I just really wanted to speak from the heart, which I'm always doing. But I wanted to really let you guys understand, help you to understand that you need a tribe, and not just any tribe. You need a tribe. You need community, because you can't walk this journey by yourself. You cannot. So thank you so much. I don't even know if I came in with the introduction, but I'm your girl. I'm the host, Jaquetta Sutton, and I am here talking about my journey, forged by fire, fueled by faith. And I'm so grateful that you took the time to join, to listen to this video, to this podcast. And I hope you take heed of what I was saying. And I hope it made sense to what I was saying. All right. So you guys be blessed. I love you so big. And you have an amazing rest of your day. All right.